Top animal research. According to the nonprofit Humane Society International, more than 100 million animals worldwide are used in lab experiments every single year. Many are used to learn more about diseases, environmental safety, safety of products such as cosmetics, household cleaners, and more. Each research institution must follow animal experiment protocols, but sometimes those rules are violated. Cocaine, electric shock, and starvation. Those are just some of the violations reported by the University of South Carolina's Office of Research. Most recently, a report revealed baby mice starved to death after researchers neglected to feed them. Animal rights activist Michael Budke is calling for that lab to be shut down.
There was no food placed in the enclosure with these animals, and despite the fact that their enclosure was checked for 3 consecutive days by both regular laboratory staff and apparently by a supervisor, none of them noticed, again, for 3 consecutive days, that these animals did not have any food.
And it is not the first time something like this has happened. In fact, this is the 7th violation the university has reported in just over a year's time. All started in December of 2022 when the university put an end to an experiment that involved electroshocking cocaine-addicted rats. In February of 2023, researchers had to stop another experiment after sick mice had to have their tails amputated. And during a site visit in March, the Department of Laboratory Animal Resources found unsanitary conditions and a sick animal that hadn't been put down when it should have been. Fast forward then to August, 2 separate euthanasia violation incidents were reported. And then you see in October, a researcher was suspended after a dead mouse was found inside a machine. And then, as we mentioned, last March, that violation happened, I should say, in May.
The University of South Carolina has demonstrated a long-term pattern in which they are utterly unable to follow federal regulations. And we believe that if a facility like University of South Carolina cannot follow the fairly minimal regulations, then they simply should not be allowed to do animal research.
According to the report, the study looks at obsessive-compulsive disorder, Tourette's syndrome, and autism spectrum disorders. It's received nearly $800,000 in federal funding. We don't know if these findings will affect USC's research accreditation, but in all of the violations, USC says it has taken corrective action. Coming up next here.